Well, first I'd like to say thank you for inviting me to come and speak with you today. How many of you are students in the room? I'm talking to you guys. The rest of us old people, I'm not talking to them at all. So I am with the MITRE Corporation. Now you see I'm trying out, since today is all about visions in the future, I am toying with creating my own LLC, and so I thought I'd just walk the dog a little bit and put out some of my new colors and see, although I'm still wearing MITRE colors, MITRE blue to death. So. Okay, so who am I? Little history very quickly. I served in the Army for 20 years. I was an artilleryman most of the time, blowing up things, killing people. The last 5 years of my career I spent at the Defense Intelligence Agency in Washington, D.C. I made my transition over into information systems at that time. And my last job before I retired was I was the chief of the Office of Systems Services for the intelligence community, and so I had worldwide comms and things like that. So I've got a lot of experience on which to base my own perspective about security. Why should you listen to me? Well, I guess I could also revert to my old days. Oh, thank you, that helps so lot. I could kill you, but no. I'm also, besides working for MITRE for the last 12 years, where now I'm the chief engineer supporting Air Force Space Command at Colorado Springs, Colorado, specifically supporting their cyber warfare division. But I'm also an adjunct professor at Colorado Technical University. I've been a member of the Colorado State University's Computer Science Industrial Advisory Board for 8 or 9 years. So I'm kind of out there for a while. My last 10 years or so before going to Air Force Space Command, I was doing vulnerability assessments and penetration testing worldwide, mostly on federal government and military systems. So this is not a technical brief. This is about the future. I hope to dispel some myths. I may kill some cows today that you don't want to kill. May say some things, but I want to provoke you as we look forward into the future to think of things differently. So let's rethink cybersecurity. Honestly, how many of you think that we failed at cybersecurity? A whole lot of them. Okay. Who thinks that, no, we're doing a really good job, let's keep things the way it is, I'm perfectly satisfied with my job. The fact is that we don't know, maybe you don't know, that we have really failed. A lot of you, I think, do know this. It's public knowledge out there. You can go out and Google around and find some of this information. I'm not going to tell you my sources, but the fact is that starting about 2006, we became aware in the government that we had advanced persistent threats. Has anybody heard that term? A few of you have heard about advanced persistent threats. There are advanced persistent threats that have been on many of our industry and government networks for a long time, and we can't get them off. No matter what we do, even when we try to rebuild a network, we migrate the information in, boom, they're back. The real unfortunate piece of that is that in 2006 we found out that they were there, and they've been there since 2003. Crap. Okay? So we've got to rethink the way we're doing this. So where are we failing? Why are we failing? Where do we go from here? What can we do? Do we just all, migrate over to another career field and security is a waste of time? I don't think so. I don't want to. I'm very passionate about security and security engineering. So why are we failing? Now, I threw all this up real fast, not to give you an eye test, but to talk through a few of these and give you some ideas why I think we're failing. One is we put too much faith in certification accreditation. Now, there's some of you in the room that are going, oh my gosh, what is he suggesting, that we don't do certification accreditation in the future? No, I'm not suggesting that. But my own personal belief, now that not that of the MITRE Corporation or the federal government or anyone else, but my personal belief is that the FISMA Act of 2002, the Federal Information Systems Management Act of 2002, just as we were getting started in security really well, and just as we began to get some extra money, The federal government came along and said, okay, federal civil agencies, you can do with it what you want to do. We want you to spend all your money certifying and accrediting, collecting information, and reporting. I have been in federal civil agencies where my recommendation was, you need to invest in an intrusion detection system. You don't have one. Well, we don't have money for that. What are you spending your money on? Contractors to come in and measure our FSMA and report in the summertime on FSMA. This is real. So we've got to decide where are we going to spend our money. In some cases, you don't have the flexibility. But in business, we have much better flexibility. Monolithic trust. How many of you work in an area where basically everybody has the same need for know? Everybody gets an account, you can see everything in their organization. It's a problem. We need to start rethinking this. Everyone does not have the same need to know. And we've talked about need to know forever, but yet we can't do it. We won't do it. Poor accounts management. How many of you ever heard of Privilege Creep? I'm in an organization for 12 years. I still have access to information from year one that I don't need to know that anymore. I can still get into those shares. Accounts management is atrocious in almost every organization I've ever been in, if you're bigger than 5 people. Externally focused brittle defense, monolithic, imaginal-like thinking. We'll have a firewall. The firewall's going to protect us, right? I walked into an organization one time, they had a firewall. They had selected allow all except explicitly denied. Are you kidding me? They did not have a firewall. You might call it a router. But it wasn't a firewall. Okay. Signature-based approaches. As long as we rely upon signature-based approaches for intrusion detection systems, of antivirus, those kinds of things, we will always be behind the power curve. We're always trying to catch up. We will always fail. How many of you believe that you can write a piece of software and eliminate all buffer overflows? They do. If you have the right architecture, if you spend enough time testing it. See, I was a tester for 10 years. I truly believed in that until someone sat down with me that I could go in and I could test all the problems out. Well, has anybody heard of a man named Denning? Denning was the father of total quality management. And I'll paraphrase, but one of the statements he made was, you cannot test quality into a system. So as a tester, I failed. I could never secure a system, no matter how much I tested, no matter how much I worked at it, I can't do it. No matter how good my automated vulnerability scan was, or how intuitive I was about getting in and testing things manually, can't do it. Now, let's see here. What else do I have? We don't know what's on our network. We have no idea what's on our network. The larger organizations, the least you know. Configuration management controls. Some organizations have some really incredibly good configuration management controls. See, they call those the security policies. Okay, I was one of those at one time. I was a security configuration manager at one time. It means everybody has to work together and play fairly together. If I want a new server, a new laptop on the network, I can get it there. How many of you have stolen MAC address before? Come on. Well, you said it, a few of you You don't want anybody to know, right? My daughter went to University of Northern Colorado. I called the help desk because everyone was trying to attack her. They said, we don't do anything about that. So I'll be back next weekend with my computer. Just have some fun, right? I think I want to go back to the universities. You know, frankly, about the patch management as an industry, we suck. We don't do that very well. The fact is that the most sophisticated adversaries and competitors are still getting into your systems using the least sophisticated attack out there. How many of you have done vulnerability assessments and run some Nessus or Tenable scans? I have. I've done thousands of them. I can't remember an organization I didn't go into and found at least one default Apache service running someplace. I'm in. It's there. We don't review logs. We collect logs as history, and we save them for 7 years, and only if someone suggests that we might have been attacked, we go back and look at the log. Okay, so I could go on for days and days about the ways we failed. What are we going to do about it? Where are we going to go? Okay, so half of you are probably going, wow, I never thought about this, but the other half are going, this guy is crazy. What I want you to do for a moment is to keep an open mind, and I want you to make some assumptions. If you believe that all systems have been or are being compromised now, would that change the way you think about cybersecurity? If you assume that your adversary or your competitor at will could hold your information and your competitive advantage at risk, would it change the way you do business? It would for me. We need to learn to fight through a contested environment. We need to assume that our networks inside the firewalls, yes, that they are contested environments and there are bad people wanting to do bad things to us. Whether they're the morbidly curious, the benign idiot, the individual who really wants to break in and steal our information, it really doesn't matter. My children like to push buttons, you know. They're 18, 20, and 30. They still push the buttons on the computers. They won't do it. And they freeze. I can tell you a number of different stories where we thought we were being hacked, and it was, we called them, in the Army, we called them loadeds. You know, anybody know what a loaded is? Little old lady in tennis shoes? Yeah, happens a lot. Trust no one. How many of you believe that you can write enough parameter checking or input validation to secure an interface and keep the user from doing bad things? Thank you very much. You can't. I've done it. I've worked at it. I've worked at it for a long time. You can get pretty good, but someone who's bound and determined to get in, you've given them the open door. You've given them an interface. But basically just embrace the chaos. So here's what I think we can do. First off and foremost, I am not advocating that we stop doing anything that we're doing today. I'm not saying that we don't do certification accreditation, that we don't do auditing or reporting or compliance testing or anything like that. We've got to do those things. But we've got to stop majoring in the minors. Those have minor contributions to our overall security. Now, I know that people will argue with me, but right now, I have a microphone. So those are just, in my opinion, minor things. Let's start focusing on where I can make a difference now and into the future. I want to spend those limited resources wisely. I want to know what needs to be protected. Everything in your organization does not need to equally be protected. There's a term out there you may have heard called crown jewels. Now, there's actually 2 different definitions for this, but the one that people use the most is that a crown jewel is something that's very important. It's information that's closely tied to your competitive advantage. Or if you were to leak that information, like my personal information, it would probably cost you about $300 per record that you lost to do the cleanup and to notify me and do everything you need to do legally and protect yourself from liability. Just think, if you drop 1 million records, that's easy. You drop 1 million records, that's $300 million. I'm out of business. You would be too. Okay. We have to learn to survive. We have to accept a combat mentality, that there is an adversary, that they're watching everything that we do. Now, we need to start watching them. We need to start looking for our blind spots. We need to start putting sensors out there where we can't physically watch all the time. We need to change often. Now, I could probably talk for 3 or 4 hours on just how to change often. I have a friend who's working on, every time he compiles a new release of software, it randomizes the memory so that a buffer overflow that existed in one release isn't in the same place. Even though we didn't patch it, it just isn't in the same place in the next release. There are ways to do that. Virtualized systems, virtual machines becoming the craze out there lately. I love them, by the way. But Most people are embracing virtual machines so that they can reduce the numbers of servers on their data center floor. Well, okay, let's rethink that one. So you have virtual machines. Well, instead of patching 500 servers, I only have to patch one and just reboot all the virtual machines. They'll pick up the new version, and now I have put a patch out very quickly. Makes my job as a security person very easy. I have a system that's been compromised. It's not acting the way it's supposed to be. I don't know if someone broke into it. I don't have time for the forensics. I don't have those kind of people on staff. They cost too much money anyway, and they're a little weird. Okay, so if it's a virtual machine, all I have to do is what? Yeah, bump the system. Once the system comes back up, it's clean again. We can do the same thing with live CDs. If you have a website that's static, it doesn't change, put it on something that no one can touch. Put it on a live CD. Put it on some other media that you cannot write to. We need to start thinking this kind of way. How many of you built a section plan before? How many of you have run an Apache server that when it errored, instead of telling you it was an Apache server, it said it was a IIS server? Yeah. Those banners, a lot of those banners can be edited. Mess with the guy on the other end who's trying to break into your system. I did that one time, but it was some friends that were trying to break in, to my little web server, and they were like all day long, and they were working at night. They finally came in and go, "What did you do to the Apache server?" It's not an Apache server. They're like, so forever, so it's like driving down my street. You look at my house, and I have an ADT sign. Well, I actually have ADT, but I'm like the only one in probably 200 houses that has an ADT sign. You're a robber. You come into my house, or are you going next door? I want to raise the bar for two reasons. One, to make you get tired and go away. The other is to make you use something sophisticated, something that I haven't seen before, because now, remember, I'm still suffering with this dependency and addiction to signature-based products and security. If I can make you use one of your zero-day exploits, and I see it, then we can build a signature for it. So I have two reasons. We want to detect in depth. Right now, most of you are detecting on a firewall or someplace on the network that get entry points, and you're detecting, maybe you are, on critical systems, or on maybe a critical account like the CEO's email account. You may be watching that one too. But we just have these little big sensors thrown out there. We need to start thinking about how an adversary functions and begin to try to detect in depth. So when they make the initial attack, maybe I can detect them. How about I could detect when they're starting to collect information about me? They're going to blogs, they're asking questions. Maybe I can do something there. They get into my system, what do? Do they ever come back the same way twice? They shouldn't. So they begin to propagate and move laterally in my systems. Am I looking for that inside my systems? Most of us are not. What do they do then? They begin to download their software, or they begin to exfil my data. Are we looking for that? Most of us aren't. When they get ready to leave, my last chance, they begin to clean up the system. They take their software off. They may try to rewrite some logs. They may try to kill some logs. I have a chance to detect them again before they leave. Are we looking? Most of us are not. So we have to learn how to detect in depth. We also need to design applications that are sensors that tell us that we're being hacked. We also need to build resilient systems that, despite the fact that they're being attacked, continue to function predictably. That's where some of you that are working on your doctorate degrees and things, let's look at resilient systems. I also want to look at self-healing systems, systems that are capable of fixing themselves. So for we, old retired Army guys and security engineers, we're at war. This is exciting times. And so don't back off. Okay, thank you.